So let's get into some sauce. Building a team. Okay. We do use virtual assistants. I think Owen is still on here. My other man, Hennessy, I think he out for the day. He been working all day. So appreciate, shout out to him. But they do help us with leasing. They can assist with advertising your units. They take incoming calls. Let's see, is Ashley, are you here? I don't know if
Yes,
Ashley's here.
sir.
Hey, I mean, how good can virtual assistants speak English and stuff like that? You use virtual assistants, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, they have all different kinds, right? So the ones who can obviously articulate very well, those are the ones you want on the phones with your customers.
Right. So look, and again, Ashley's a wholesaler, and I know she uses virtual assistants all the time. For me, we give specific directions, descriptions of the property, surrounding areas, give them the tools to do a lot of stuff off of you if you got scale, right? If you ain't got scale, then virtual assistant may not be for you. It's a unnecessary expense, right? But this for us has been able to make us more vertical. I get to control my brand. I get to control my business versus a third-party property manager. They doing the same thing as the virtual assistants. They're doing some of the similar stuff. There might be a language, a moderate language barrier, but that don't have to be. There might be some cultural barriers. That's going to be your biggest issue, is having some cultural barriers and getting through that. But they can give a list of amenities of the units. They can provide screening questions. They can set up all your advertising that we talked about earlier, right? They can get the leads for you. They can get the phone numbers, the cell phone numbers, all that kind of stuff. They can send out the application, right, that we talked about earlier. They can have records of notes, right? All of our calls are screened. We use a VoIP dialer, right? So all of our calls are recorded. I get to go back and see if one of my residents is acting stupid with one of my VAs, and they think they can get away with it because Mr. Barnes was on the phone, but Mr. Barnes will still regulate that, what. I'm sorry, but that's the reality of it. They assist with our maintenance. Okay, they can take incoming maintenance calls. They can upload the maintenance request to our Buildium application. They can explain the difference between an urgent repair and a minor repair. And I've given them the list of what is considered an urgent repair and a minor repair. They have a list of contact the vendors for us. So now I rank the vendors for them. That's been something that we've had to kind of do over the time. Like, hey, here's our vendors. This is what you call them for. And this took me some time. So I want to be real clear. This took me some time to kind of really say, okay, these type of things are for this type of vendor. Call this person on this. This is for electrician. This is for whatever. Your handyman is not an electrician. Your handyman is not a plumber. So we had to kind of, it took some time to kind of get through that or whatnot. But now they can do a lot of their maintenance requests, to where, like, I'm still kind of in the background. I'm watching, I'm seeing what's going on in our communication. And so I might step in and say, oh, send this person, send that person, or whatever. But a lot of times they do a lot of coordination for us, and they're covering our short-term and our long-term rentals at the same time. They can troubleshoot a lot of stuff. They can take the calls when I'm busy. A lot of y'all got 9-to-5s, right? I still got a 9-to-5, or I might just be on vacation, or I might be on the beach. We tell them, like, hey man, we're off. We went out of town. We've been out of town the last 2 weekends, and we were in the places. We were on the water the last 2 weekends to where we physically could not even. Our phones were not in the place we were paying attention, but we felt fine because of the process that we built with our VAs. They can just track the whole payments. They do a lot of payment updates and all that. Hey, you're late, seeing what's going on, do the workout plan for us. I can approve and not approve, and they can just give me a summary. So I'm not on the phone with the tenant for 30 minutes talking to them about all whatever. Okay. They're really good at that. Another person, again, so this some of this may not apply to you if you ain't got enough doors, and that's okay. But for us, this is a community manager, right? Not to be confused with a property manager, or it could be a property manager, but this is literally like one of our ads, right? And literally, this is somebody on site. So, depending upon the size of your units, you need that you got to have some eyes and ears on site. That's not necessarily going to be a VA, right? So walking the grounds, delivering inquiries, delivering messages, hand deliver, seeing what's popping, watching for those people that don't belong there, things of that nature, doing some light maintenance or scheduling with maintenance, doing some showings, things of that nature. Again, that's going to come with scale. And then we're gonna provide y'all with a few tools that we like with our VAs. And Ashley, feel free if you want to add on afterwards. I definitely invite you to. And this could be your tool. This could be your VAs or just people on your team. WhatsApp, Slack. I love Slack. LastPass for sharing passwords. In our Slack channel, we have a Slack channel for every unit that we own. We have a lot of Slack channels. TransferWise for payment. Calendly. Calendly is dope. When you're scheduling a showing with a potential client, use Calendly. A lot of these tenants will be like no call, no shows on you. We might get 50% of that. When you use Calendly, they can get a text message and an email reminder of the showing, and that'll reduce the amount of no-shows you get. The worst thing in the world is think you got a showing and you schedule something, and you could be at your daughter's soccer match or whatnot, and you cancel or don't show up late because you got a showing and then that tenant don't show up. That'll piss you off, and that's happened to me many times. Trello. I love Trello. That's a good task manager. Again, these are some tools for your property management company. If you do the company, maybe not so much for your smaller landlords 1 through 5 or something. Again, just going over some violations. These are some documents. So we're going to run through these. We're coming to an end. If anybody, again, I promised some documents. Notice of lease violations. This is a lease violation document. Okay, these are some of the common things that will lease violate. Again, the lease violations is not about being a jerk. It's being about having good, proper communication and documentation if things escalate. So I just start the lease violation when things start to escalate. I don't lease violate to lease violate. I don't do any of that. Hey, my bad, Ashley, did you have any other tools that you thought was helpful for working with VAs? Let me go back right quick.
I just added it in the chat. Was so all the ones you put on here is great as far as like paying them. TransferWise is good, good secure payments. But the other one was just Time Doctor or Hubstaff. That was just to track their productivity, make sure they're doing all the things they're supposed to be doing while on shift. Take screenshots. It lets you see what websites they're on. It's very affordable, only like $7 to $10 a month. So that's just one thing from like a management part I would just put on there just to make sure, right? Because especially if there's someone overseas, just to make sure, right, they're not manipulating, stealing time. That's obviously the biggest thing, that you have LastPass on there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, that's just working with VAs. As you work with VAs, it's a process you'll learn. Some of us had to be managers for the first time with working with VAs. Let's see, lease violation. We went over that. Lease payment plan. So we talked about workout plan. This is what a lease payment plan will look like. Okay. Rental verification templates. So these are just our templates. I promise y'all we will provide. This is just our rental verification. This is what we do with the landlord. We'll send this over to the previous property manager or the landlord. Leasing SOP. Y'all might find this highly valuable, some of y'all, right? I won't go through all of it, but this will be in our documents, okay? This just kind of lets us know, this is basically our SOP. So we went over like our process, but this is for like our SOP for our VAs or anybody that works with us. So again, this is more of the, if you're trying to really kind of expand or not use a property manager and run your own thing, this will be really, really helpful. So we update our rental amounts. Here's what we're taking for rent. Here's our non-refundable deposit. And then here's the income that would be needed, right, to that 2.5 times a month. We're just literally writing all that stuff in, pet fees, etc., criteria, all that. So again, this leasing SOP is a document for us to make sure that we're not violating fair and housing laws, right? So you can cut and paste here to all your advertisement, to all your communication, right? To make sure that you're on the same page consistently. That consistency that we talked about, this will protect you there. More of our leasing SOP. We went through a lot of this stuff earlier in the deal, but again, this is just our kind of our formalized deal there. all the rental background information, employment information. See, we wrote all this down. So now we're plugging and playing. Does that make sense? We're plugging and playing now. Okay. Communication templates. So here's a couple communication templates that we can do with our tenants. So now you're kind of seeing how we can use VAs, or you can plug and play anybody, right? Maybe you want somebody on the ground. Maybe you can't afford a VA, but maybe you got a community manager type person. This will, that one of them old Sister Collins type of ladies that's real hardcore or whatever. She's your community manager in your first 10 unit, right? So you can't afford VA, but you got a Sister Collins type deal, right? This is a good SOP for them, right? Or maybe it's your husband and wife, and y'all do things different ways. You got different personalities, like me and my wife, right? This is a great document. I'm just a talker. She's more structural, formalized. If you can imagine, she built all this. I did not. But it's really good because she will hold each other feet to the fire and say, hey, you're going outside the guardrails here, right? And so here's some of our communication: rent reminders, past due communication, generic. Rent past due 3-day notice, good faith, balcony front door cleanliness policy. Hey man, your stuff is dirty. Pets, don't be having your pet poop out inside our gate, stuff like that. Inspections, maintenance, charges to the tenants. We will charge for replacement key fob, mailbox keys, house key, trash removal. If we have to clean up, we are not maids around here. A lot of tenants like to think you're a maid. I ain't your maid. We're gonna charge your butt for it. AC repair. This is a big one in Texas. We get these all the time. So we send out, it's got to be 78 degrees on Texas state law. Okay. So if it's 77 and they somebody who likes it cold, I like my house at 67. Well, sir or ma'am, you could free to go buy your own house and run your AC up at 67 degrees. But as long as I'm maintaining this, I'm only required to be at 78. Now, if it's consistently like that, then we'll send out a maintenance request. But sometimes when it's 110 degrees outside in Houston, Texas, and you at 78, I think you're good. And according to the state of Texas, you are good. Okay. Weather issues. Things are out of our control, right? Maybe the power went out. We've had that happen. Winter freezes, power went out. We like to send out a message, let them know what's going on. We're working on it. Preemptive, right? Conversation. Parking, out of office reminder. Man, don't be calling us outside of our hours. Planned and water electrical outages. We let them know up front. So anyway, guys, that's what we got. That is it. Questions. I'm sure we have some questions pop up.
You guys can just, since this is at the end, if you want, either just raise your hand or come off the mic and ask him your questions directly.
Oh, we had a long class. I know we went over a lot of stuff, but like for real, ask your questions. There's no wrong questions to answer. I don't know if we covered everything. I'm sure there's always extenuating circumstances. So if you've got them, please feel free to ask them. No question. That's okay. All right. Don, what did I miss, Don? I covered everything, Don. We on point. We all right?
You do way more than I do. So yeah. A lot of the stuff, we do a lot of the same things. I think you have me questioning, should I take pets and stuff? Because I typically don't. But I don't on my apartments, but on the houses I do. So I'm used to charging pet rent and stuff like that, but on the apartments we typically don't. So I'm considering that now, especially since literally I was just sitting there like, we have a property where we got rid of the laundry facility. So I was like, just because they were messing up and breaking the machines and all this stuff, stealing laundry, so like we shut that down. So I was like, well, what do I need to do to replace that income? So I was like, I was just sitting there thinking like, man, do I charge for pets again? Like bring in pets over there or charge for parking, something of that nature, but something just to replace that income. But you do a lot of the same things we do. You're more strict though.
I am a little bit more strict, and I'm more strict mainly. And look, I don't want it to come off like I'm a jerk or I'm policing. And I literally tell every tenant that moves in with us, you really shouldn't have to hear from me. If you hear from me, there's likely a problem, right? And I'm gonna solve it my way, not your way. But that's something that we I try not to be as strict, but I just found in the apartments, man, with people sharing walls, we get so many complaints and nonsense about nonsense that we have these rules in place for me to make sure that we have a semi-passive business, right? This is supposed to be passive, and I'm not trying to be active in this business. That's why we got a lot of these rules in place. And like I said, the stat thing, and what's funny is for my friends that really know me for a long time, they know I don't really like dogs. I don't really like pets, not personally. But again, 68%. Yeah, I can use software. Yeah, let me type that in the chat. Okay, so for us, so let me give this recommendation. I recommend software based on your volume and your income properties, right? So if you are if you got 1 or 2 doors, right? Apartments.com is just fine. Okay. Rent Ready is fine too. I like when picking a software, I like software companies that are growing and are aggressive about their product and improvements. 2 softwares that I recommend on that is Rent Ready. They're active with Bigger Pockets. They advertise a lot. They're constantly growing. They don't have a ton of bells and whistles. We need more bells and whistles than what they offer. But for the smaller landlord, and I would say under 10 units, they're fairly affordable. They're very affordable. Apartments.com and Rent Ready are very, very affordable. Hemlane, I don't know them, but if they do good for you, then highly recommend them. That's fine. The key for me is using some software. What do we want the software to do? As many things as possible. Collecting online applications, huge. Anything that you would be in a car doing that a software could do, you wanted to do. Okay. I'm not doing more on the 3rd lease violation. We go on eviction court or something. I'm not doing a whole lot of back and forth with people. I'm a big person on, I said what I said. This is a dictatorship. Avail is good. I actually met the owner of Avail before. They're solid. They're solid as well. You want to collect the lease application. You want that application to automatically feed into the system for your rent roll. So your software, key components, you need a rent roll, right? You need a lease ledger where you're keeping up with the actual payments digitally. That's huge for the people that went to the class 2 weeks ago. We talked about that, right? You want to be able to run a background check through that if possible, right? These are good things to do. You want it to be able to store documents. This is a big one. Man, we used to have so much paper. I don't know about you, Don. I used to have binders and binders of leases, man. I used to have these big old binders of leases. I'm all digital now. So now all of our yeah, I love Rent Ready. That's one of our vendors that we used to use, Rent Ready, and we upgraded to Buildium. Buildium is like a Ferrari type of, or a Porsche or something, right? That Buildium really got a lot of bells and whistles. Might be too many bells and whistles if you don't have a lot of doors. Buildium for anybody that's an aspiring property manager, it's built for property management companies in addition to the small landlord, right? So you can bring on different clients with Buildium. That's what separates Buildium from some of these other deals. You can have different banks set up with Buildium, right? So if I was managing Don's properties and Mark, I could manage everybody's property on this phone call right now with Buildium as individual property owners with individual bank accounts. That's dope if you so need be. For me, Buildium is really good for if you're syndicating or you got partnerships with different people and you don't want to commingle money, right? Things of that nature. If you got different properties owned by different LLCs, all that kind of stuff, Buildium is really good for that kind of stuff. Communication, Buildium has an app. I have an app on my phone. All my residents download the app. They can submit their requests via the app. I can see who's late on the app. I can see my outstanding payments on the app. So like, man, it's really, really cool on that level. You get automatic emails when the payments come in. So on the 3rd, I could be waking up. I mean, literally, I don't know about you, Don. I mean, I wake up at 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. You can see them checks coming in building, right? You know, I mean, that make you, those are real cool, right? Let's see. Yeah, the resident communication building is really great. I don't know if y'all can still hear me, but man, it got a lot of bells and whistles, lots of bells and whistles on Buildium. I mean, it's you can see who's outstanding. You can add this is a big one, man. The fees. That's really where we start to make a lot more money, because you can things that how do you charge somebody without software and prove that they paid and not pay, all that kind of mess and forgetting? That's really good for adding charges, giving credits, just documentation, man. Oh, here's a big one for the people that's talking about scaling. Just bookkeeping. Don, you're accountant, right?
It's funny. We had a call with our CPA today, or one of them, and like that particular CPA firm, we set them up in our Buildium system so that they could pull the reports themselves.
Woo.
And go in there. Like, man, it saves so much time. But it's helpful, especially like we have like 9 or 10 complexes that we run through Buildium. So it's very helpful to be able to just like, all right, let me go pull X, Y, and Z report. Now, that's good and bad because you can check it at any point. So like on one of the properties, I was like, oh, I got to pull some stuff for this lender. And
That's big.
my wife handles the property. So I go in, I look, I'm like, oh, that's a lot of income, but I saw 0 expenses. I was like, oh shit. We haven't done the books yet. And it's August. So hey, I kind of need you to do books for the year on this property. But I start taking over, like having a rent roll in the property management, going from like having my wife who has a W-2 running 100 of the doors, like, oh, okay, I got to take some stuff off of your plate. But because we have all that stuff going through the system, it's easy for me to just, all right, what pieces do I just
I mean,
take
it's like a whole nother person,
and
right?
Oh yeah.
It's like a whole nother person for a fraction of cost. And Don, I don't know if you peep it, but I mean, this might be for you. Look, man, if you got your VA, every expense, everything is logged into Buildium. We not sending out no maintenance guys without it being logged into Buildium up front, right? As a task or a maintenance request. So that gets logged first, right? So now it's a red flag, and it's a flag that needs to be, it's an open task, right? In Buildium. So it has to get closed out, right? So that's helping us with bookkeeping along the way. Back in the day, I was doing Excel because I was Excel guru and whatever, and you was just always missing stuff. I'm actually losing money on my taxes because I wasn't logging all of my expenses properly, right? But Buildium with a VA, that's a game changer, right? So now you're getting all your now when you need to pull those documents for the bank or your lender, right? You can pull it and you don't have to go re-update Buildium. Now I'm telling you this 3 years in the Buildium. So my first year we wasn't doing all this, right? But now that we're on it and we got our systems in place, right? Our VAs can kind of go in and kind of update all that. Do you use a personal firm that will set up your Buildium account, specifically bookkeeping portion? Man, I ain't gonna front, Carissa. It was tough getting. I mean, we use the, you should have a account executive with Buildium, man. Record those meetings, and then you go back and remember how to do it. I'm not gonna lie. When we first got on Buildium, it took me about 3 or 4 months to master it. Then my wife came on a year later and I had to retrain her, and it took her time. And then our VAs came on and we had to train them. So like we're on year 3 and we finally got together. But so that's why I want to be clear. If you're on this app and you got less than 10 doors, I would highly recommend something else, right? Buildium's, like I said, it's better than using QuickBooks. Yeah, I think Buildium is much better than using QuickBooks. Because it's all integrated, right? Like it's all integrated. The income automatically updates whenever they pay. The expenses automatically updates. And the reports look amazing. The lenders love the reports. They love the reports. The reports are fantastic. So, Yeah, it's a pain to get started. You know what you can do, Carissa? Here's a gem. If you can't afford a full-time VA, you can get on Fiverr, right? And you can find you a one task only type of virtual assistant. And there are people that specialize in building them. I've used bookkeepers you can look for a bookkeeper on Fiverr and you can search for Buildium and it will come up. And you depend upon your doors, that might cost you $50 or something, right? And you
That's
might
what we pay.
what's that?
We hired one specifically for bookkeeping for Buildium, for the mobile home park and for our 48 unit, and he handles all of that stuff. But we pay him, it's basically $50 a month per property.
Yeah. So that ain't nothing. I mean, it depends on your scale, right? If you got enough doors, it might make sense. If you got only one or two, you don't need to be doing all that. You don't need all that, right? This is for people that got, that needs it for the scale. For us, we've got 2 virtual assistants. They've got various different skills. They're highly skilled. We train them a lot. We put a lot of into them. I hope they, Owen is here. She's kind of our lead. Do everything, make sure OJ's handling stuff or whatever properly. And then Hennessy, he works the day shift, Owen works the night shift. And he does a lot of bookkeeping, a lot of social media stuff. Owen goes out and makes me money on short-term rentals and keeps up with a lot of stuff and things of that nature. So actually with us, our bookkeeper is one of the VAs. So he kind of takes care of that. That was one of the reasons. So we like our VAs to have multiple purposes and do different things. And then everybody in our company can do a little bit of something else. There might be a lead on something, but everybody needs to be able to pick up the slack if needed, right? He's the lead on bookkeeping, but then obviously I'm really good at bookkeeping, and my wife and Owen or whatever. So we all can do a little bit of everything. So question. Any other questions? Feel free. If I missed anything, let me know. It's getting late. All right. So with that being said, everybody, if you like this class, we're doing these classes. We're bringing different people in to talk about different subjects. I think maybe in October we'll talk about taxes. I'm sure probably bring Malachi in and talk about taxes and things of that nature. We'll talk insurance is becoming a bigger conversation. So I'm definitely going to bring Al in to talk insurance. So those
got title too next month.
Oh, she's got title next month.
Nationwide title too.
Title, that's going to be a good class. So we definitely got 3 or 4 more classes, pretty big, heavy classes on the radar. Whitney, yeah, I do have a Section 8 course. I've got that digitally, so you can kind of just DM me if you want to check that one out. I am working on loading that up to the Wealth Masterminds community. If you're not a part of the community, all of these classes are complimentary. Get in now. We will be ready. Look, our value, we know our value is good. So I would say get in now while you can. Brandy, you got anything coming up? I know we got title coming up, or maybe you got any words. Brandy, look, first of all, let me tee Brandy up. Brandy is a phenomenal lender, y'all, and she's a phenomenal educator in the lending space. Lending is a clear, distinct portion of how you're going to get your deals done and how much money you're going to make. And that's why that was one of the main reasons why I wanted to partner with her, because of her knowledge. She's one of the most knowledgeable people I've ever met in the lending space, and her ability to explain complex lending things is a huge Instagram. I'm sorry. I said it. Sorry, you can just hit me on Instagram, or I'll just hit you by contact. So Brandy, you got any words or anything? Pardon.
Everything was great. I love the class. I hope you guys were taking notes.